This morning's subject is the secret of the sperm. Last December, hundreds of scientists met in Montreal and read their papers to each other. Naturally, the entire world printed what they had to say. Fortunately for me, the Los Angeles Times carried it daily. I must confess, everyone really fired me. But one in particular interested me. And this scientist read a paper on the sperm. He said the sperm remains as much a mystery today as it was when man first became curious about its nature. And then he made this little statement. The sperm somehow easily passes through the surface of an egg, although the outside of the egg has no holes in it, either before or after fertilization. Well, that fired me. On the morning of the 19th of February, I was lying in bed quite early, thinking of this strange mystery of the sperm, and wondering all about it. And suddenly I felt myself detached from this body. I was not in my room, but I was in a room, and the room was sealed. There was no entrance, no exit, just a sealed room. But as I entered it, it became alive, it became animated. Then I thought of my bed, my body, and in one moment I am back on my bed. I thought of another detachment. I'm in an entirely different room, but it's also sealed. How I got in, I do not know, other than I simply imagined myself away from my body. I did not single out the room. The room was completely sealed. No entrance, no exit. Then I thought, there are these unnumbered states of consciousness. You can't number them. You can liken each state to an egg. And every state remains just like the egg until fertilized. And the presence that fertilizes the egg is simply our consciousness. We must be in it to activate it, to animate it. You could this very moment single out any state, and by the use of your imagination, imagine that you're in it. You'll be in it. Think this very moment of your living room, or any room in your house. Take an object, a familiar object in your room, and bring it as close as you can. If it's really here, well then you can't be here in this room. As you become intense about it, concentrated on it, you are really where you are imagining yourself to be. For man being all imagination, he must be where he is in imagination. But what have I done there? I've fertilized it. I've actually made it real. And in a way that I do not know, I'm going to go there. But now you will say, naturally, I'm going to go there today. It's my home. I use that only to illustrate a point. You could take any place, no matter where it is, any part of the world. If you did the same thing to it that you would now do to your home, you will find yourself compelled to move across a bridge of incident leading up to the fulfillment of that state. You don't devise the means, but there's so many little facets to this wonderful art of imagining. I'll tell you one to show you the danger. When one wants one thing above all things in this world, and they're willing to sacrifice their moral, ethical code, in fact, every code. It also works. That's why I warned you in my last book, I can only acquaint you with the law and leave you to your choice and its risk. And I mean risk. You want it, but you condition it. You want it with dignity. that statement of miracle. I have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. That's our great miracle. So I warn you, yes, you want something, and the thing that will fertilize it is your own wonderful human imagination. When you know exactly what you want, occupy it. I find one of the great fallacies of the world is perpetual construction, deferred occupancy. We know what we want, but we leave it out there and hope that the passing of time will make it. It won't do it. I have to occupy it. I'll make there, here. I'll make then, now. And dwell in it just as though it were true. And if I dwell in it just as though it's true, though 1 second later, the phone rings and breaks the spell, or someone calls me, or I wake from it, I have fertilized it. You go into the state and you fertilize it. I may not recognize my harvest when it comes in due season. It'll come. May not come tonight, may not come tomorrow, but it will come because I fertilized it. I went into a state, occupied it, and the whole thing becomes fertilized. But every egg has its own appointed hour, and it ripens and it will flower. If to me it seem long, then I must wait, for it is sure, and it will not be late. These infinite states of the world are waiting for occupancy, waiting to be fertilized by us. That's why we must become so extremely discriminating. Know what you want, and do make it conform to your code of decency, your wonderful ethical code. You don't have to, in any way, tarnish that code. You don't, to get what you want in this world. But men are not aware of that, and they're quite willing to tarnish it a bit to get what they really want in this world. So here, this secret of the sperm is God's creative power. Now don't be shocked if I tell you that that sperm is only the symbol of Jesus Christ. For by him all things are made, and without him there is not anything made that is made. In him is life. There is no other life. In him is life. Well, if I go into a place and suddenly becomes animated, then I must be he. Prior to that, I thought he was on the outside, in some other place. And suddenly I find myself in a room, and the room is sealed. Well, how did I get into it? You're told in Scripture, he suddenly appeared among the disciples after the resurrection, and the door was closed. That's a cue given to all of us. It's not a man, it's a supernatural power in man. That supernatural power is your own wonderful human imagination. If you're willing to believe it, you could today set out to transform your entire world. But above all things, become extremely selective. Don't just compromise, don't. Extremely selective. The state is there. The tarnished state is there. And the untarnished state is there. Everything possible is there. Why do we read these words in Scripture? He has made everything for its purpose, even the wicked for the day of trouble. If there were no wicked in the world, then creation isn't complete. I don't have to be wicked, but the state is there. I could enter the state and be as wicked as the state allows. I am not the state. I am the fertilizing power, animating and making alive that state. That's why Blake said, in his wonderful vision of the Last Judgment, I do not consider either the just or the wicked to be in a supreme state, but to be every one of them states of the sleep which the soul may fall into in its deadly dreams of good and evil. It falls into these states unwittingly. You, knowing the law, don't fall into a state unwittingly. Enter the state knowingly. Go right into it. If you want to animate it and make it real. And you go into a state not just for yourself alone, but for your family, your friends, anyone in this world. And just leave it. After you have fertilized it, what can you do? Let it grow. Fertilize the egg. Don't tamper with it. Just let it grow. So you single out the state today. It's a state of consciousness. You enter it and clothe yourself with it. And let it grow.